Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. James Clear. These words by James Clear strike at the very heart of personal growth. They remind us that each seemingly insignificant decision, each small action we take day in and day out, carries far more weight than it first appears. Every habit, no matter how tiny, is like a vote cast in favor of a certain identity. Over time, those votes add up. You gradually become the person you consistently demonstrate yourself to be. In essence, our daily actions are quietly, steadily constructing our character and destiny. One of the most powerful ideas in James Clear's Atomic Habits is the concept of identity-based habits. It's a simple but profound shift in perspective. The most effective way to change your behavior is to change your identity. Rather than focusing on what you want to achieve, the outcome, focus on who you wish to become, the identity. For example, instead of setting a goal like, I want to read more books, you start telling yourself, I am a reader. Instead of, I want to run a marathon someday, you say, I am a runner. When you make this subtle shift, you start to see each action in a new light. Every page you read isn't just ticking off a task, it's an affirmation of being a reader. Every mile you jog is not just exercise, it's evidence that you are indeed a runner. By focusing on the identity you want to embody, you naturally begin to align your behavior to prove that identity true. I remember a vivid example of this mindset shift from a friend who struggled with smoking. He had tried to quit many times, and each attempt ended the same way. A few days or weeks of willpower, followed by relapse. The turning point came when he changed how he thought about himself. One day when offered a cigarette, he didn't just say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Instead, he confidently replied, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." In that moment, he wasn't simply a smoker resisting cigarettes. He had started to see himself as a non-smoker. That change of identity made all the difference. Each time he refused a cigarette after that, it was no longer a struggle of will versus temptation. It was an act in harmony with his new identity. He was casting votes for being a healthy, smoke-free person. Over time, the cravings lost their grip, and he truly became what he claimed, a non-smoker. This taught me something profound. When you change the story you tell yourself about who you are, you change the script that guides your behavior. I've experienced a similar transformation in my own life. Early in my career, I was a chronic procrastinator and felt perpetually disorganized. I would set ambitious goals and make elaborate plans to be more productive, but inevitably, I'd slip back into old habits. I'd tell myself, I'm just bad at managing time, and use that as an excuse whenever I faltered. And as long as I believed that about myself, every missed deadline or messy desk simply reinforced the identity of being disorganized. It was a self-fulfilling cycle. Eventually, I realized that to break out of it, I had to change how I saw myself. I decided to adopt a new identity. I told myself, I am a disciplined, organized person. At first, it felt like I was lying to myself, but I backed it up with tiny actions. I started ending each day by writing down the next day's 3 key tasks. It was a small habit, almost trivial in effort, but I did it consistently. I also made a point each morning to clear one small area of my workspace, just a minute or two tidying up. These acts were minor, but each one was a vote for my new identity. Day after day, as I checked off my short to-do list and straightened my desk, I began to feel the shift. I was no longer someone scrambling to get organized. I was an organized person by nature, even if only in small ways to start. That change in self-perception led to bigger changes. I found myself procrastinating less and taking more pride in my work routine. What happened on the outside, better productivity, a cleaner office, was a direct result of the change that had happened inside. I had rewritten my identity through tiny daily habits, and eventually my behavior caught up to that new narrative. There's a fundamental truth here. Our identity is not fixed. It's formed and reformed by what we do each day. As the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle once said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. This wisdom is echoed in modern psychology and in James Clear's work. We gradually become the sum of our consistent actions. If you repeatedly shy away from challenges, you start to see yourself as a timid person. If you consistently step up and take initiative, you cultivate the identity of a leader. Every individual action might seem insignificant in isolation, but collectively, they shape our self-image and our destiny. It's like each small habit is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. One day's brushstroke might not reveal much, but over time, a clear picture emerges. What I love about the idea of identity-based habits is that it flips the script on motivation. Instead of relying on sheer willpower to push through tasks you think you should do, you draw strength from the person you believe you are. When a habit becomes part of your identity, you don't have to constantly convince yourself to do it. You do it because it's who you are. A musician practices their instrument not just to reach a quota of hours, but because playing music is part of their identity. A caring person doesn't perform acts of kindness to check a box, but because being compassionate is ingrained in how they see themselves. When you identify as something, you're not faking it till you make it. You're being it until you become it. Small habits might seem powerless on their own, but their true power lies in their cumulative effect. James Clear uses a wonderful analogy. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money multiplies over time through compounding, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. If you can get just one better at something each day, those gains build on each other. It's easy to overlook the importance of a single action. Reading one page of a book, doing one short workout, writing a few lines in a journal. But when done day after day, these tiny actions aren't tiny anymore. They become a force. The progress might be barely noticeable at first, and you might wonder if these little efforts are making any difference. But stick with it, and you'll cross a tipping point. Suddenly, what once felt difficult is second nature, and the results that seem so far off have quietly bloomed into reality. Imagine a block of ice in a cold room. The temperature is raised 1 degree at a time. At first, it's well below freezing, and the ice doesn't change at all as the room goes from 26 to 27 to 28. The ice is still solid at 31. But then the room reaches 32 F, and in that moment, the ice begins to melt. Was it the last 1 degree increase that did it? Of course not. It was the cumulative effect of all those gradual increases. Change often works this way. You might be working hard, building better habits, and see no visible results for a while. It's frustrating. But then, one day, you realize you've changed. The weight you've been trying to lose is coming off, or that novel you've been writing is suddenly taking shape. The evidence of your new habits has crossed a critical threshold. All those quiet efforts were not wasted. They were slowly shifting the ice until suddenly everything moved. This is why patience is so important. Identity-based habits require faith that the process is working even when you can't see it yet. It means trusting that every healthy meal, every study session, every morning jog is another degree heating the room, bringing you closer to the moment of transformation. The beautiful thing about aligning your habits with your desired identity is that every small win fuels your motivation. Each time you perform your new habit, you have proof. This is who I am. It's deeply satisfying to feel that congruence between your actions and your ideal self. And if one day you slip, which we all do, being human, it's easier to get back on track because you can forgive a lapse and still believe in your identity. Missing one workout doesn't make you a lazy person. It's just a brief misstep, and the next day you're back to being an athlete because that's who you are. When you operate on the level of identity, setbacks don't define you. Your habits and commitments do. So how do you put identity-based habits into practice? It often starts with a clear decision about the person you want to be. Take a moment to envision your ideal self. Ask yourself, who is the type of person that could achieve the things I want to achieve? What would that person do on a daily basis? You might realize that the person who has a successful business is the kind of person who reads about their industry each day, or the kind of person who makes that extra sales call. The person who is fit and energetic is the kind of person who never misses their morning run. The person who is calm and centered might be someone who meditates for a few minutes each morning. Once you have a picture of who you want to become, start with the smallest step to begin being that person. Make it easy and undeniable. If you want to be a writer, perhaps start by writing just 50 words every day. Something so small that you can't make an excuse to skip it. If you want to be more mindful, start with 1 minute of deep breathing each morning. These actions are tiny, but they are votes for your new identity. Do them consistently, and each time you do, you'll think, I just did that, which means I am the kind of person who does that. It's a subtle shift, but it builds true confidence with each repetition. Don't underestimate the power of these small wins. They may seem trivial on their own, but each one is evidence. It's like collecting proof in an internal journal. Proof that you are a reader, a healthy person, a good parent, a successful entrepreneur, whatever it is that you aspire to be. Over time, this evidence builds up, and the narrative in your head starts to change. You're no longer someone trying to become that person. You already are that person, even if you're only at the beginning. Now you're simply working to solidify that identity. This internal shift is transformative. It frees you from the roller coaster of external motivation because you're being driven by a core belief about yourself. One of the most inspiring examples I've seen was a colleague who transformed himself through tiny habits. He was a manager in our company who always seemed a bit scattered and stressed. He admitted once that he didn't see himself as a leader, and his habits showed it. He'd often come in late, forget to respond to emails, and avoid tough decisions. After a particularly challenging quarter, something changed. He started calling himself the kind of leader who always puts his team first and leads by example. It was just a phrase, but he took it to heart. He began small. Every morning, he arrived 15 minutes early to greet his team and organize the day's priorities. He made a habit of writing a quick thank you note to one employee each week, acknowledging something they did well. Just a small gesture, but consistent. These weren't grand, dramatic moves, but they were steady. Over the next few months, we all noticed a difference. His team became more engaged and proactive. He gained confidence and started handling big decisions calmly. By the end of the year, that once anxious manager had grown into one of the most respected leaders in the company. When I asked him about it, he said, I just started acting like the leader I wanted to be, in the smallest ways every single day. After a while, I wasn't acting anymore. It felt natural. That is the quiet power of identity-based habit change. It doesn't shout. It doesn't spark headlines on day one. It's a slow, steady evolution that starts internally and eventually becomes visible to everyone around you. We all hold stories in our minds about who we are, our identities. Some of those stories empower us and some limit us. The wonderful truth is that we have a say in how those stories unfold. Changing your habits is actually one of the most effective ways to rewrite your story. If you feel stuck or defined by traits you don't like, I'm bad with money, I'm not a morning person, I can't focus. You can begin to change that narrative today with a tiny action. Deposit $5 into savings and tell yourself you are becoming financially responsible. Get up 10 minutes earlier tomorrow and enjoy the quiet. Telling yourself you can be a morning person in your own way. Turn off distractions for a brief, focused work session and prove to yourself that you can focus. These are little edits to the script of your life, but done consistently, they revise the whole plot. Remember that identity-based change isn't about achieving a goal and then stopping. It's about becoming a new version of yourself and continuing to grow from there. Even after you reach a milestone, say you run that marathon or get the promotion, you don't quit the habits that got you there because it's who you are now. In fact, reaching the goal is just a byproduct of your identity. When you think this way, success is not a finish line, but a natural step in your journey. And there's always a new mountain to climb or a new facet of yourself to develop. This perspective keeps you humble and hungry to keep improving, even after big wins. In the end, the core message is beautifully simple and hopeful. You have the power to choose the kind of person you become, and you do it through your daily habits. Change doesn't require a sudden overhaul of your life. It can start with one small habit, one small act of faith in yourself. Every positive action, no matter how minor, is a step forward, a vote for the you that you want to be. Over time, as those votes accumulate, you'll find that you've gently, steadily reshaped your identity. You'll look back and realize that all those tiny actions weren't tiny at all. They were the foundation of profound change. So start today with one small action that aligns with the person you want to become. Embrace the process and be patient with yourself. Know that you're not just changing your habits, you're changing who you are. And as you continue on this path, remember James Clear's powerful reminder. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Make those actions count, and in time, you'll proudly wear the identity of the person you've always wanted to be.